Okay, welcome to the Lobo Podcast. We have Marty DeRosa. We talk about wrestling, Stone Cold. We bring back Eddie Guerrero from the dead. Chris Benoit played out, and Virgil was a slave. All right, basically. Lobo Dan. Okay, welcome to the Lobo Podcast. I'm your host, Giovanni Deez. We're at the Lincoln Lounge. To the left is Chrissy Ferreira, and in front of me, we have some different equipment. But if you want to know more about that, just DM me, unless you're a Patreon. But there's different equipment, wink, wink. Anyways, today we have Marty DeRosa. What's up, Marty? How are you doing?
What's up?
It's good. We have a sponsor today, right? We are sponsored by Kyrie Irving and the Jews. Are you Jewish? No, right?
No.
But you are Jewish passing.
I'm not not a big Kyrie Irving fan either.
Kyrie Irving, no.
Is he a bad basketball player?
I think he's good.
Oh, is he good?
He must be good, right?
Okay. I don't know much about the NBA. I know there's like a dude who's like good but doesn't play much, and everyone's kind of sick of him.
Are you talking about Kyrie? Or are you
I don't know. No, and then like the Jewish stuff or whatever.
Watermelon. I hate watermelon flavored things. But anyways, Kyrie Irving is actually sponsoring the podcast because I worked for Jews for 22 years. I still work for Jews. Do you like Jews?
You know you're in comedy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, outside of comedy.
Yeah.
I was a caddy. I was a caddy for many years in golf. But we have Marty DeRosa. Oh, that's some touching things. Marty DeRosa, he's on the podcast. You have tattoos. I never noticed them. Is that what's the smiley face ones?
Those are wrestling masks.
Oh. Yeah. Do you you're a fan of wrestling. Yeah. You're a comedian.
Yeah.
When did you get into wrestling? I used to be a fan of wrestling.
Yeah. When I was like just a little kid, like after cartoons, I saw it and I was like, oh.
Who was who?
Ricky
Hulk
the Dragon
Hogan?
Steamboat was like the guy. I was like, oh.
Ricky the Stag. And do you remember? I was a big fan of Tatanka. Nobody else was. I was a big Tatanka guy.
Sure.
I was a big. I used to be a wrestling fan. I didn't know. Your fans know. I didn't know it wasn't real. Or the stage. I didn't know the storylines.
Yeah. Do you remember when you figured it out?
It was like at 12, 13.
Did it have an effect on how you watched it or
stopped.
not? See, I was just like, oh, okay, tell me more about that. And then I started getting into like the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, and I probably could have, but it was one of those moments where I was like, because I always kind of knew it was fake.
Yeah.
But I thought it was like, well, it's fake. They're not really hitting each other, but I didn't think the matches were already determined.
Right.
And then when I found that out, I was like, of course, if it's gonna be fake, they have to. I thought I was like, well, whoever did better in the fake wrestling would win it. You know what I mean?
My buddy's kid has just figured a lot of stuff out, and a lot of time. But then he saw the sheet that's got like the winners and the losers circled, like at a show we were doing, and
independent.
Yeah. And he's like, he calls it the sheet, and he's just like. I sat at the table and I saw the sheet, and he was like telling his dad who was going to win matches later because I let him like commentate for one match, and he's like more fascinated. Yeah. It's my buddy. His name's Noli.
Okay.
And Noli, he's like more fascinated with wrestling now that he knows it's that it's predetermined, it's somewhat scripted. Like he's fascinated by that.
Well, and I get how you would be like. Yeah. Movies, TV shows, like reality. You know what I mean? Reality is it's like stage and drama, but it was just because I was so in it. You know what I mean? And I was like, I was in wrestling.
Yeah,
like, I was deep. I don't know if you remember these guys. They had public access out of not Libertyville, but one of those cities up there in the suburbs, off the top rope.
Okay,
they were on public access.
Okay,
it was these two guys, and it was just a wrestling show. And they would talk about wrestling.
Yeah,
and we would watch off the top rope. We did. Did you do backyard wrestling at all?
Of course.
Did you hurt yourself? Were you I was a little fit guy.
I have like a weird, like my elbow does it, like it has like this like fatty deposit from a wrestling thing that never went away.
Yeah.
You can't really tell with the tattoo, so it's like all good.
I have a little scrape here because we were in apartments. And the hallways in the apartments, the wall had these little, they looked like the rock thing. Or I don't know what it's called. And so I had a little scrape. It's like right here. You can kind of see it a little bit. But I was, all my friends were fatter. Yeah. So, and I was fat. I mean, I wasn't as fat as them. So I think my moniker was the physical fitter.
Love it. Fat kids really thrived in backyard wrestling. Like a fat kid who could really move was like an MVP of backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
Because you can jump on them. They can pick you up. Like they were the foundation of backyard wrestling.
Did you go, what was, You've been to wrestling shows, so I never ended up going to a real.
Yeah.
I only went independent.
Okay.
So Off the Top Rope, we went to their live recording at the public access.
I got to find out who did Off the Top Rope. It might be my buddy. I'll find out. Here, I'll text somebody during the show.
Yeah, Off the Top Rope. They were out of it's Gurney, and then there's the next fucking town over. My fucking buddy lives in it. But dude, I was these guys. So then Coco Beware. I got into the magazines. I went, my favorite independent shows, my biggest one I went to was in Carthage College, and there was a guy named, the Berlin Bomber, and he had little, what is it, the headshots or whatever, and I signed.
Yeah, the 8x10s.
Yeah, the 8x10s, and I was like, I felt really cool, because this guy, it was like a legit show. But then there was two shows one show was funny, because it was at a place called Magic City.
Okay.
And Magic City was a skating rink in Waukegan, or Gurney, Waukegan area. So it had an angle to the ceiling.
Okay.
So where they put the ring, you could only go off the top rope on two of the posts.
Oh,
and the other one,
that.
The guy
dude, I love a ceiling coming down, or like a ceiling fan or something off the top rope. That was what it was called.
It was off the top rope.
All right, we'll find out throughout the evening,
throughout the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, and I was Tatanka, my friend.
Who did you absolutely hate? Like, what bad guy just drove you crazy?
I'm trying to remember the bad guys. Whoever. Whoever,
like the Tatanka era right now, like wrestling fans.
He went heel, or he started
joined
heel.
the $1 Million Corporation. Remember the $1 Million Man?
It broke my heart because I didn't like whoever Vince and the storyline told me not to like. I never went opposite. You know what I mean? It was like, except for my friend was mad at me because I betrayed Bret Hart. Because when Bret Hart...
Don't tell me that.
No, I didn't betray Bret Hart, but I bought that boyhood dream shit. If people don't know...
Bret Hart... Shawn Michaels. You were Shawn Michaels guy.
I became Shawn Michaels because I got sold. Dude, I got sold on all marketing. Like the movies back in the day?
Yeah.
But remember Congo? It was like, buy the producer's Jurassic Park. I was like, I must be as good as Jurassic. And I would watch all these things. All that marketing shit always got me as a kid. And I'd watch these shit. So, it was Shawn Michaels. He's a wrestler.
You look like Bret Hart now with the pink headphones and the black shirt. Like you look like a diehard Bret Hart fan.
Let me show you a picture. I dressed up as Bret Hart as it must be in my Facebook. And what's the other guy? The Hart Foundation.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Yeah, me and my buddy, we dressed up as. Okay, no, this is not my cover photo, but we dressed up as. Where's cover photos at? As Jim the Anvil. Let me see if I can find all these dumb podcast ones. We dressed up. I was at Anvil, but the problem is I got so drunk that I lost. I shaved my head. I dyed it.
Nice.
For the. But did you ever? Who was your favorite wrestler? Wrestlers
like Bret Hart, one of my favorites of all time. Love Stone Cold, Ric Flair. I mean, just it's so hard to pick favorites. I just watched it like it was my job. So I really didn't. I liked angles and and just when it's all kind of clicking. That's my favorite.
I had a really big thing for I got sold on this one when Lex Luger.
Yeah, right. Lex Luthor is Superman's arch enemy.
When the big thing when he
Yokozuna.
When he flipped Yokozuna,
he body slammed him on the USS Intrepid on the 4th of July.
Yes, he did. Dude.
Yeah,
and he had the. Remember, he had the plate.
So he had a motorcycle accident for real, and they always go oh, real shit. If you were I had a metal put in my elbow, they're gonna be oh, that's got to be your finisher, and we'll make it illegal and all this stuff or whatever. Because when he came in, he was a bad guy. And it was look out for that elbow because he's got screws and stuff in there. Yeah.
Remember when did they get in trouble for this? Didn't Psycho Sid pull a gun out on live TV?
No, that was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But it's at Brian Pillman's house. He broke into his house, and Brian Pillman pulled a gun on him because he went Austin 316. He goes, "What about Pillman 9mm?" And he had fucked up his foot because he wrecked his truck. And so he couldn't wrestle for a while. Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
So Brian Pillman's ankle was he kept having to have surgery on it and stuff. So they were
I always mix up Brian.
And Austin was I know where you live. I'm coming to your house. And he beat up his friends outside. I don't know if you remember. He threw one of them in a kiddie pool with shitty, just water. It was the fall. There's water in there. And then he went in. He broke the window of the back door and then opened the door. And then he was like, "I'm coming for you, Pillman." And then Pillman pulled the gun. And then the announcer for WWE who was there, his name was Kevin Kelly, and he was like, "Oh my God, he's pulling a gun!" And then it went beep, and then USA Network was like, "Yeah, you gotta apologize for that." But I remember as a kid being like, "This is fucking awesome."
9mm. I remember that. Oh my God! And my favorite announcing duo is to you. I think we're on the same board. I'll ask you, who's your favorite duo?
I mean, that's like there's the duos that are just like nice listening to on a Saturday afternoon, like Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. I'm not like.
Well, you're not a
the old Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry the King Lawler.
Jerry and Jim Ross.
Jim Ross.
Oh no, Ross. I love the commentary. If you watch back,
Ross was awesome. Ross was awesome. Lawler was a little silly. Like I remember,
hilarious, dude.
There were other teams like
he was like an Alex Jones almost. It was ridiculous.
I loved these cheesy jokes that he just like had to get in or whatever. Yes. And I think as a kid I was probably like, all right, that was good. That was a little corny, and like it wasn't even like supposed to be corny. Like I genuinely think he thought this is pretty cool. I got this pretty cool joke about like boobs or whatever. But yeah, it's a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time. Yeah. How'd you get into stand-up comedy?
I actually had an ex who told me that her friend was going to go do like an open mic in Chicago. I grew up in Indiana, and I remember being like,
where in Indiana?
Cherville, Indiana. It's like northwest Indiana. By like Gary and
Gary
and stuff.
Yeah, it's fresh.
So I was like, oh, that's what you can do. Then I heard another dude I went to school with was like, I'm going to do open mic at this bar. And I was like, oh.
Was this all in Indiana, or they had to cross the border?
Well, they were crossing the border into Illinois. Yeah. I don't even know if comedy existed in Indiana yet at this point, you know. So, and then I was like, oh. And then when I moved here, I remember I get like.
Did you move? You didn't move for comedy?
No, I just moved here with some buddies. And I remember just like going through the Reader. Or not the Reader, the Reader, and they would have like comedy, and I was like, oh, okay, and they would say like open mics and stuff, and then I like most people, like I went and like checked it out, like, you know, you see someone at an open mic and they're standing in the back, and you're like, oh, you're just scoping it, you know?
Yeah, I scoped for about 3 months. Yeah.
I scoped a little bit, and then I just got drunk one night and told my friends like, go and do comedy, and they're like, no, you're not, and then they came to one of the shows and stuff, so I'm like everybody, quit, came back, you know, it's the same old deal.
Yeah, I can't remember. My first open mic was Three Dead Moose. No. I always say my first open mic that I didn't go to was Shoe Buzz.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if Buds was running it or the tall guy with the big dick. I forgot his name. I forgot. Remember? He always had his headphones like this and he skateboarded.
Chris? Condren?
Yeah, Condren, yeah. Okay. So
that's a fun way to remember him.
I mean, I never saw his dick.
Sure.
But
I have. It's gigantic. It's,
okay, all right. Okay. So Connor was running it, and then I remember I had either Red Label, Johnny Walker. I don't know if you're a whiskey guy. I had some Red Label. I don't drink Red Label. You should drink Black Label. And then I drank in the car a little bit.
Oh, you had to drink yourself into courage to do it?
I drank myself, and then I got in, and then I acted like I was confused in my head. Because I was like, oh, where's the list? Oh, there it is. And then I went and I saw it, and then when I got to it, I signed up, and it was like 30-something, and I was like, fuck. And then I went and I bought 2 PBR, probably tall boys, and I'm sitting there now. The PBRs are coming in with the Red Label, and I'm like, how long am I going to be here? I'm not going to get up. And I left. Started driving to a strip club. Accidentally started driving to a gay strip club because on the way up there, I looked for reviews, and it was like, the guys are great, and it was fuck. So I went to VIPs because I knew that was a regular strip club. Went there, had a few beers, told a stripper that I was a comedian, started lying to her.
Liar.
Stolen
valor.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm a comedian. I didn't even go up, right? Then I went to McDonald's, got a fish fillet,
nice.
Big Mac fish fillets for nuggets, went to bed, and then the next week I went
Wait, you got Big Mac, filet of fish, and nuggets?
Yes.
Nice. That's expensive.
I was pretty down. Not at that time. Yeah, it was before. Okay. Yeah, things have changed now.
I guess.
I do it, the McRib combo.
Yeah, how much?
Was like $9.09. But I ordered it, and I was like, "Can I get the combo?" And I was like, "It says $7." I was like, "Oh, I just upgrade everybody to large," without telling them. I was like, "Put it back to the regular, sir." I can't
sometimes I'll be on Grubhub or what is it, Grubhub or whatever, one of those.
DoorDash,
just like,
Grubhub.
Let's get like add a something, and they're just like, oh, it's $5.95 for a fillet of fish, and I'm like, that's not.
No, like possible. You're engaged, right?
I am.
I'm not. I mean, I'm in a relationship now, but one of the reasons I'm not engaged is because of DoorDash, because I'm trying to pay it on my credit card, but my girlfriend's always DoorDashing, and it's like,
if you have a credit card, I couldn't imagine having I used to have credit card debt, and I can't imagine like all the temptations, especially too if you're in a relationship. Like, oh man, you gotta just be single. I think for a while. No,
no, like I think I have to tighten down. Like I could do it. I can go into tightening mode, but it's different when you're by yourself.
Yeah. Well, you brought beers and stuff, so that tells me you're like,
you know how old these are.
Are you well, still, but like, they're probably someone brought it over for a show or something.
They've been in this, Mike. They've been in coolers, and they've been. Yeah. I don't know how long I've had this.
Okay.
For like parties and this. Look at this. Here, hold on, let me show you this. Let me.
Hold on, wait. What do you? I was gonna say we could do like a taste test where I can see, but I already know what you got in there.
Okay, but there's this. I'll just show you this.
You got Modelo. Ooh, that looks like
this
it's
is before the
it.
summer. And this is possibly Leo, my stepson's birthday last year.
Okay.
So this might have survived through then.
Damn.
Because it's a cooler. I've been switching cooler to cooler, and then
So has that been like warm, cold?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like, you know what I mean, or I can get it. But anyways, that's why I'm there.
Okay.
But you started comedy, and then, but you were single, right? You were fucking.
No, I had a girlfriend when I started comedy.
Oh, really? And then you guys broke up?
We broke up.
You were going to shows? And
I chose comedy.
Yeah.
I remember where I was just, she was like, you'd probably rather be doing comedy than like sitting here on the couch with me. And in my head, I was like, I would actually. Yeah. No, it was like no knock on her, but I just loved comedy so much. And then she actually broke up with me, and I was like, oh, this is great. No problem.
Have you broken up with anybody? I've never broken up with anybody. Oh, really?
Of course.
Is this before therapy or after or
during? Everything. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a work in progress.
Oh, okay. No, I never had the balls.
Yeah, no, I've dated a lot. So I've broken up with all the things.
So it's easy for you to break up with somebody, right?
It's not easy. It's never easy. It feels like real. Like I used to have, when I had a car, I remember like I was dating this gal, and then she was like, no one's ever broken up with me. And I remember when she said that, I was like, oh man, this is going to be tough because I already don't want to date her anymore. And I broke up with her, and we was at her house, and all I could think of is, what am I going to get to eat after this? And I was so excited to just get like food and bring it home and just like watch a movie or something. But yeah.
What'd you get to eat?
I think I went to Subway and got a meatball sub. I fucking love meatball subs from Subway. That's like for every place. Some places I'll only go to for like one just real trashy thing.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel the vibe is right in the Subway, I walk out. Like I went to one.
I've gone into it with one of the Indian owners at a Subway.
You know what you got to do? What you really need to do is, if you go to Indiana for a show, go to one of their Subways. It's like going to Pleasantville. It's all like young white kids.
It's like going to a Chick-fil-A or something like that?
Yeah, kind of like that, like a Culver's or something, where everyone's like, sure, I can get you a barbecue sauce. And they're like, oh, you're like the nicest person in the world. And they're like, oh, let me clean that table before you sit down. And they clean the tables and everything. It's really nice.
No, I was on my phone. He was like, no.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was like,
I love it. I would never serve anybody if they were on their phone.
And
I would never serve anybody.
I was like, excuse me.
I'd go, no, walk out.
He's like, no, and I didn't realize I was going. So then me and him started getting into a shouting match.
Yeah.
And I was like, I yelled out, fuck you, I'm not blah, blah, blah. And then I never went back to that Subway.
I'm a comedian. This was before you did comedy. You're like, you know who I am? I'm one of the best comics in Chicago.
My God.
Yeah, I used to go to this one 24-hour Subway when I was going. There was a 24-hour Subway.
In the city, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm in the suburbs. We don't have that. Get shot.
Yeah, no, now it's like the suburbs. Nothing's open late anymore. But like, there used to be a Subway that I would hit after open mics if I was in that area, and I would just get like, just nothing like.
No, me it was a meatball sub.
Nothing like eating a foot-long meatball sub right before you go to bed, you know?
Dude, the meatball sub, this is the thing. I don't like Subway.
Yeah.
But when I would go out, I always get the meatball sub.
It's
and
perfect.
Then there's a few restaurants, Subway, Burger King.
Yeah.
I hate them, but every few years, or year and a half or 2 years, I start to get that craving, and then I go because I want a Whopper or I get a sub.
Did you ever get the tacos at Burger King?
Hell yeah. What? Because I was a fan of the tacos at Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
So it's like that was actually my favorite. That was actually my favorite thing. The only thing I liked was I didn't even like their fucking water. I hate Burger King. I did get sent to the hospital once by Burger. That chicken sandwich,
dude. I think I think recently we were going to Indiana to visit my fiance's family, and I grabbed some Burger King off of just a quick exit.
Are you back doing stand up full time?
I kind of just do it when I want to do it.
Okay, like, because I got a friend who's a producer in Indiana.
Yeah,
who want to do a show.
Who?
Huh?
Who?
Susanna Rodriguez. She runs Hobart Theater. Okay.
Oh, I've done the Hobart Theater. That's a cool place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of do it when I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Same.
It's more fun that way.
Same.
Because sometimes I would like load up my calendar and then I'd be like, oh man, I'm just not like mentally equipped to do 4 shows in a row or like a weekend out of town. Like I won't go out of town right now because I got enough stuff going on in my life where I just can't do that. My dad's going through hospice right now. Okay. So I'm not like gonna go to a comedy club on weekend and just like be in those were some of my. One of the reasons I don't do it much is because those were some of my saddest, darkest days of just like being in a hotel room on the road. I just can't do it.
It's funny because there's a point wouldn't do that now, but when I was in it, that I aspired so much to be the road comic and be in hotels. Like, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And now, I have a kid and I'm in a relationship, so it's like, so now me doing a show, it's like, man, I got to drive 2 hours to go. Like, I got a message the other day, $20, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or wherever the fuck it was. I was like, and I was like, man, sorry, Cranes, but like, I can't do this one.
I mean, if I can drive home. I mean, I don't have a car, but if anyone drives or whatever, and like 2 hours is great. I just don't want to stay the night. Like a lot of times at those places, like if I don't drink, I'll just be like, I'm just going home tonight. Like I'd rather not stay at a hotel. Now I sound like I'm like afraid of hotels or something.
Would you get sad at the hotel?
Dude, I just get so depressed at those hotels.
Is it being alone or is it the hotel? Like, what's bringing you down? I know you have depression.
I do.
Does it trigger it? I don't know how it works.
Yeah,
is it in waves?
It's I'll have like a whole, like something will start it off, and a lot of times it's like I will get very much in my head about like my comedy career. Like if I'm at a shitty comedy club and I'm just like, this is my own fault. If I worked harder, I would have been down the street at the better comedy club. Or like sometimes I just feel loyal, so I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. They were like one of the first clubs to headline me or something or whatever. Sometimes it's cool. Like sometimes I'll really push myself and like tell all the like local comics like, let's all go out there if I can see a movie or whatever or get food or something. But most of the time I can just be like, I'll just fucking be in my room, crawl out to eat, come back in, crawl out to do the show, come back in, like I'm not good in those situations. If I was with friends, sometimes it helps, but like there would have to be like, I would need my own like rider to be on the road all the time. I
would tell myself that when I got there, I'd be in the room and I'd be writing and I'd take advantage all the time. That's what I told myself.
Yeah.
But when I finally
you bring your computer, but then you just use it to go on Pornhub. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just such a weird. I do enjoy driving home on a Sunday morning, like when it's like this weather and you drive through like really nice like Michigan or there are parts of Indiana that are nice, or like I'm saying like, well, there's some parts, you gotta like.
Oh, there's that one resort.
There's Valparaiso and all those nice parts. Yeah. But like, you drive like through Michigan, you know what I mean? And they're just like, man, this is pretty nice. This is pretty nice
golf course.
But yeah, it's it is just what it is. And then doing the shows are sometimes fun. And then what I've noticed lately is like I just don't have the I don't know what the word is. Like, I used to have so much thicker skin for, like, bad shows and, like, well, at least we made it a good show. But now I'm kind of like, I just want to do good shows.
Yeah.
I feel like as a comedian, I have the ability to make bad shows good. You know what I mean? If, like, if I'm at a, like, if they're, like, sometimes my fiance's very nice to me and she'll go, what would they have done if you weren't on this show? And I'm like, that's a nice thing to say, but
I just didn't want to.
I just don't want to be the person who's like, all right, come on, people, we're gonna fucking do this. Like, I
just did a show and I won't name names, but it'll be obvious when I say it. But like the guy before me did 20 minutes. He's a new comic.
Okay.
Like, new.
Yeah.
And then I heard him and I was like, oh, you're doing 20? Because I heard that like, hey, give me the light at 18. I had a long week and I was like, oh, so that's not going to be tight material. Yeah. He's going to talk about his week.
Yeah.
And he's pretty new. And I was like, fuck. And he had me going out loud. I'm not going to say headline. I'll say close out the show.
Close it out's perfect.
And I was like, fuck. And I just had a bad feeling. I was like, well, maybe not.
Do you prefer the comic before you to do really bad, okay, or really good?
I prefer to do good. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I do, especially when you're younger, I do like, man, if I'm going before somebody, it's like
I wanted a bomb. I prayed for a bomb.
Or I wanted to show. Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, I used to love a bomb because then I go, oh, okay, I can do better than that.
Yeah.
But now I like when they do really, really good.
Well, it depends on the person. It's like you're kind of a dick. I don't want you to do well. But if you do, it's better for me if you do well.
Yeah.
But part of me doesn't want you to do well. Or if somebody's like, yeah, you don't respect me, so let me.
Are you competitive with people on the show? Like if you're just like, you're not in my crew, I don't like you, I don't know you.
No, I'm very competitive with myself.
Okay.
It's almost like I am the same with golf. I kind of care less what's going on around me. I have me and myself. Like Jake the Snake Roberts, his line, nobody can hate me, or do what, something like the line goes, nobody can hate me more than I hate myself, or nobody can hurt me more than I hurt myself.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In his documentary. But it was like that. Like
Beyond the Mat.
It's me. Yes.
Yeah, Beyond the Mat.
I think I got it free from Mancow because I called and I did like the answer C and I got like a little wrestling pack.
Name Jake Snake. Turtle, send you a DVD.
Yeah, but it's me. It's me versus me.
Yeah.
And I get a little bit, you know what I mean? I want to do, good, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Do you wear your last sleeve? Do you wear your last set on your sleeve? Like, are you only as good as your last set?
I used to not. Well, there's some where it's like I had, no, actually, no. Because I like bad sets.
What do you mean?
Like, the bad sets are my favorite sets because they would motivate me.
Oh, okay.
Because
I thought you were one of those, like, I want them to feel mine. Like, no, that's great. You motivated. Yeah.
Because the good sets were like,
they always say you learn from the good or the bad, because the good you're just like,
the good. I don't learn shit. I'm like, that was fun. That was good.
I'll
and
tell
if
you
anything,
what.
they hurt me a little bit because it's like maybe they made me think a little bit better than I am, and it's good to have some confidence. But I don't work with confidence. Me personally, I don't advocate other people to do this, but I am very negative with but it works for me. I'm not an unhappy person, but I'm very down on myself, and I'm when it comes to art and things like that, it's never good enough, right? But it works for me. And some other people, it does not. Where that whole positive thinking, the secret, it would never work for me.
I dream about crushing.
No, no. I'm like, I have to be down on myself. So those bad sets, I need them. You know,
I'm the same way in a lot of ways, but there is a nice thing that happens after a little while of doing this where you're just like, well, no matter what, I'll be fine up there. Like, if everyone's eating shit, you're just still like, I'll be fine up there.
Yeah.
You know, like I've seen a lot of like, you'll go to a comedy club and they'll have some like local dudes go up first or whatever, and and then it's like, all right, I'll be all right, or whatever.
Well, I do get an enjoyment. I kind of enjoy people bombing a little bit. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Like, I watch TV and I saw somebody bomb, and I'd be there watching my girlfriend, and then like they start feeling cringy and they feel bad. And I was like, nope. Like,
as a comic, there's nothing greater than someone bombing on TV.
And I'm looking, I was like, no, and I watch. I'm like, they probably. And I think of the times where I could have done a little bit better, but on the way to the show, I didn't prepare as much as I should have, whatever. And it showed. You know
I always get on myself of like, why did I talk about whatever for like 15 fucking minutes? Like, what was that all about? But I like it all. It's fun. It's very fun to perform. I didn't perform for like, man, I don't know if it was a year or two. Not two. Might have been a year, but they were like, oh, we're going to open up again. I remember doing a couple shows, and I was just like, oh man, I didn't like that.
Were those in between shows?
Like
where
those
people were in
weird
masks, you
moments.
can see their faces. And
I remember I was doing an outside show, and I was like, this just ain't working. No. And then this UPS truck pulled up, and it was like where people were like a little in the front yard and then a little in this like more grass. It was like Logan Square, there's those like, there's little areas of grass or whatever, like when you're on like Logan and Inner Logan or whatever, Logan Boulevard. And then I
like
was,
a boulevard type. Oh yeah, you just
whatever.
Said yeah, I know what you mean.
So there's this other patch of grass people, but then this UPS truck pulled up and blocked most of the people at the show, and it was like, oh, thank God I can fuck around with this or something. And then, but then when I came back after I kind of got my head right, I just had so much fun. Like that first show back, I was real nervous, and then oh no, I did a guest spot at the Improv. My friend was in town at the Improv, and I did a guest spot on her show, and I was like, oh okay, that wasn't so bad. And then I did another show, and then I was like, oh shit, it's easy, not easy, but it's like easy to get back into it.
Yeah, my first show was, I think, during COVID. Mm-hmm. I got something in Wisconsin, like in June, but it was outside. Yeah. And then the whole drive up there. I was at Kohl's or Marshall's early in the day, and then I started listening to my set to go over my material, and I was like, I don't remember that. And I started freaking out.
Oh yeah.
I was like, holy shit, I haven't done this. And then the drive up there, I freaked out. I was like, shit. Like, so then I was like freaking out the whole time. But it's funny, when I went up there and it was on stage and I was on the mic and then went on, muscle memory, it all just came back, and I was like, oh. So when that moment happened, and after that I had those moments, it's like, oh, I didn't realize it was just there. Like I didn't, on the drive, didn't remember shit, but as soon as I was on stage, it was like, oh, okay, that wasn't bad. And then and somebody did cocaine, and
then you're like, oh, I'm back. No, it felt good to go back again, and then just kind of realize that, like, oh, I don't have to do this every single. I used to think like every single day I have to do this, or like then you give yourself a couple days, 1 day off, 2 days off, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's been so much more fun.
So I used to feel guilty not doing stand-up or comedy or something, right? But then COVID hit, and then everything shut down, and nobody could do it.
Let me ask you this: with the like newer comics or comics who are like 5 years or younger in comedy, is it like that dude doesn't do enough open mics? Is it still like very much like you gotta do mics?
I don't even know what's going on out there. Like, no,
do people still try to do like 3 or 4 mics a night anymore? Is that still a thing?
Do you remember that guy who did he did the month of, he was doing like 5, he tried to like break the open mic record in Chicago, Persian dude, and
I don't know.
Yeah, Persian also.
How'd he do?
Gambler. He did him, but I was like, it's funny because I saw him. No offense, nice guy, but I saw him towards the end of the set, and I was like, this turned out how I thought it would, because it's like you can't write and you can't rewrite because you're doing too many damn mics, and I'm watching him, and I was like, okay. I just watched the set. I was like, all right, he didn't get better. Like,
would regular shows count in that list?
Huh?
Did he count regular shows?
He was doing regular shows.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, because I was gonna say
he was doing like
it would be a lot of like I'll be at like everyone. Zanies used to have you do 3 shows like on a Saturday night, and I'd be up there like for that last show, and I'd be like, did I fucking say this earlier? Like you're telling jokes and stuff, and you're like, I mean, for an open mic, if I was doing 5 open mics, I would try to do different material at if there's like 3 or 4 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, or develop it. But I was because I was thinking, I was like, you're not gonna have time to rewrite anything.
Yeah,
and you're doing too much. But
also you're gonna. Here's what a lot of comics don't understand is like I respect like anybody who's like, I'm not gonna miss a day, or I'm not gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But it's like I realize you're like proving something to yourself, and hopefully you get better by doing this much comedy. But like a lot of your comedian coworkers are going to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I've never been like I don't know if you'd call that like a try hard, because it's like, are you doing this for yourself? Are you trying to impress people? Are you trying to make a name? I don't know. That's just not me, and I know my friends would all be like, I'm still probably funnier than that dude if I went up once, not once a week, but you know what I mean? I would get competitive instantly and be like, I feel like if you're doing those things, you might be like drawing a line in the sand to kind of be like, I'm a hardworking comic. And like the non-hardworking comics, who usually are the funniest, are going to be like, what is this dude doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that hard work doesn't pay off in comedy, but I don't know. Sometimes it's just kind of like, it's a certain type of person who does these things. And I'm usually like, well, okay, just get funny.
Yeah.
I'd be more impressed if a comic is like, this month I'm gonna get funnier. I'm gonna have a new bit by the end of the month that has a opening, a closing, an end, and maybe I can even like call back to it later in my set. Like, I'd be more impressed with that than I did 20 open mics.
This is what I remember when I was doing open mics was those people.
What do you mean doing open mics? Do you not do open mics?
I haven't done an open mic.
Are you doing that much comedy where you don't do open mics?
I think I'm like on your boat. I pick and choose here and there, do the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I just got a message for a show, I do it.
Yeah.
I used to. Now I'm doing some, because before I would rant on the podcast and be like, just don't book me.
I did comedy for like 15 years though before I did this.
No, yeah, I did. I only did. I did 6, maybe 7. I forgot.
Yeah.
But
I'm just fucking with you. I don't care.
I was grinding the hustle, whatever, and then I think COVID hit, and I was like, oh shit.
Dude, I
had a break. I hadn't had a break in 6 years. I didn't have a social life. I didn't date. I didn't do anything. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, COVID was like, Fridays and Saturdays of just like watching.
I saw the Mandalorian
stuff. I watched. I didn't even watch. I got hooked on like YouTube shows that were on Friday and Saturday, like wrestling, and just like, my schedule got all out of whack. I don't know what I would have done if I was like super into comedy when COVID hit, and like a single
You're already kind of taking a break
already. Yeah.
Oh,
I was already kind of checking out when it hit. I remember that night, and I was like,
is it right?
We gotta do another show, and someone's like, there's no shows tomorrow, and I was like, yes. I was so happy, like, I don't have to go to the Laugh Factory tomorrow, yes, because I just wasn't feeling comedy at the time. And then obviously everything happened, and then when they're like, we're opening back up, and I was like, we'll see. And I did some show. I was like, wow, what was that? I had to go after Mary Lee. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I already don't want to be here, and I have to go after Mary Lee. It's like my favorite, and she's so fucking good. And I got through it, and then that was one of those where everyone's like, that was good, and I'm like, nah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. But then, when I started doing comedy again, and like doing, like, that's the thing too, where I'm just doing like fun shows. Like, there's a couple shows where I'm just like, I'm not going to do that one because I know it'll break my brain. So I'm going to do fun shows.
Yeah, I just did a show recently, and I didn't know it was a free show. And when I showed up, I was like, "Fuck!" Like I wouldn't have agreed to if it was free, and I didn't know. So that when you were saying when you were at a show, and then you're like, when they got canceled, I used to do that. I used to get that satisfaction when I was supposed to meet up with a chick, and then she canceled on me, and I'd be so excited because I was at the point where I felt like this obligation. I was like, oh, I'm a dude. I need to hook up. I need to get laid. And it's like, now I'm honest with myself, but I wasn't. Now it's like, oh, I can just not do that. I can, and then I would go to my food, and I'm like, all right, now I can get my
one vice for another.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be the baked. I get a whole bag at Jewel of the baked cheddar ruffles.
Yeah,
I had to get the ridges, the rich cheddar one, and then some sour cream, maybe, and then I had my thing. I'd get excited because it'd be like, I want to go with the food, but I'm not going to cancel because I was like, I'm not a man. I gotta if there's opportunity, I have to take it. Yeah, you know. But I don't think like that anymore. But now it's like I do what I like. Now I do things I want to do in my time. But I was controlled by this kind of weird machismo. Like I need to get a notch in my because I didn't get laid until I think I was 18.
Oh, so I was those comics.
You know, I was like, oh shit, I gotta make up for lost time type of thing, and then I was like, I need to crush puss. It's like I'd rather go eat, but I'm not. So let me sleep with this chick I'm not really that into. Yeah, and that's what I do. How'd you and your lady meet?
Through my.
You used to crush puss.
Is that in my Wikipedia? Yeah, I used to crush puss.
What'd you call it? You call it sport fucking.
Sport fucking. Yeah. Oh wow, you did research. Yeah, I was a sport fucker back in the day. I used to love it, man. I used to just.
Patrice, show your friends so you can still catch.
Yeah, man, it was always fun. That was probably a lot of it too, of like showing up at a show with a new like, hey, look at this, you're pretty hot, huh? Or meeting people after shows. I used to meet a lot of people after shows and stuff, and you know, it was fun. And then I started doing a wrestling podcast with my fiance, just as friends at first, and then about a year later or so, we started dating, and it was awesome. Yeah.
Do you do any wrestling?
I mean, I do like commentary and stuff.
Did you ever get in the ring?
Oh yeah.
I wrestled. Did you do the training a little bit?
I did. I mean, self-trained. Okay. But no, we knew a pro wrestler who kind of like taught us some stuff back in Indiana. And we had a ring. We bought a wrestling ring with our high school graduation money. We all pitched in and bought a wrestling ring. Oh, really? Yeah, and we had it in my dad's warehouse for a while, like in the back, and then we had it at my buddy's backyard for a while, which...
It was like your version of what was Bret Hart? It was the basement.
Stampede. Yeah, well, they had the base, the dungeon.
The dungeon.
Yeah,
right?
But we had a ring. We had ropes and stuff, and yeah, it was really cool.
Because they did catch wrestling, right?
Basically, which is
like basically grappling.
Old man would just kill people. Yeah, but they had a ring in the backyard and stuff, and they would play too. They would wrestle around on it and stuff too. And like, it was funny because when I started doing comedy, like people would ask, "Oh, you do improv? You do this? Or what'd you do before this? You seem pretty comfortable." And I was like, honestly, backyard wrestling. Like, you performed in front of people, so you couldn't be like, "Ooh." I mean, not many people, but also we had a public access show. We'd put it on public access, and we cut like promos and stuff.
Did you hear it backing off the top rope at all?
Oh shit! Hold on,
I'm curious. Now.
Yeah, here we go. P.L. Myers.
There were two white dudes, and maybe one of them had a mullet like I do.
Well, I mean, that's not...
Oh, my God. It was maybe 20 years ago, because I'm 38.
Two white guys. All right. We'll ask one more person here, too. We'll ask...
And I think a few weeks I was trying to say, oh, man, I wish I could find the tapes.
But that's the thing, too. We've got a couple of the tapes and stuff of... we have a couple tapes of us... doing the backyard wrestling and stuff, and it's just like, man, it's just so funny. I love it so much.
Did you, when you were young, we discovered ECW.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it blew our minds, because we were discovering ECW like UFC at the same time, so we'd stayed up and find. I don't know how we got ECW, because it wasn't, you had to get tapes, right?
You grew up in Chicago?
I grew up suburbs.
Yeah,
up here.
Our TV, whether back in the day it was like UHF, like Channel 50 or Super 66 or whatever, like, those got a bunch of weird wrestling, and then a couple of, I think it was like the U or something, would get weird wrestling every once in a while, because I'd be all up on it. People would be like, "You gotta, if you live in Chicago tonight, 2 a.m. ECW will be on the U," and it's
my God, yes, the
U. Oh shit, yeah. Or I had people
Samu.
Samu was in. He was one of the head shrinkers. You probably know Samu.
Oh
Samu
yeah, he had the big butts, right? You could see their butt cheeks.
He became.
But you could see their butt cheeks. Would you like a beer?
No, I'm good. I'm good. But Yeah, so I'd watch that. But I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, you seem like pretty comfortable," and I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's backyard wrestling. I used to do that all the time, and it was real cool."
Who's your favorite back in the day? Not the new ones. I don't know the new ones. Let me break it over here. The wrestling, not the females, the ladies, right?
Yeah. I liked Sunny. Remember Sunny?
I loved Sunny. Dude.
I liked Sunny. I have a couple buddies who hooked up with her, which is very fun.
What?
Yeah, and they're just like, you got to, like,
you got to. They were wrestlers?
This was before she murdered people with her car, but
wait, what? She pulled a Caitlyn Jenner?
She got a bunch of DUIs and finally killed somebody. I don't even have to say allegedly because it happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like everyone's back
Jenner,
in the day, guys would be like, I know. They're like, you're not gonna believe this. I hooked up with Sunny, and everyone's like,
I would have loved to hook up with Sunny.
Yeah, you got to.
So I wouldn't have hooked up with Miss Elizabeth out of respect.
Out of respect for Randy. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to sleep with Bam Bam Bigelow's lady with the side because
Luna.
Yeah,
she was. I always.
Thick,
yeah, man, she's cool. She's real cool.
Virgil is doing.
Do you know all about Virgil?
Doesn't have a lot of money right now, right? Because if you watch the YouTube videos, Virgil looks like.
Depends on what interview. Some he says he has all this money and he's teaches calculus for $100,000 a year at some school.
That's brain trauma talking. Yeah.
I used to do a lot of those conventions, like host like WrestleCons and stuff, and Virgil was always at those. And it was always just like.
All right, are we gonna talk about this? The dynamic. So Virgil was basically. Fucking Ted was slave, right?
Yeah, and you know why do you know why they called him Virgil?
No,
that was to fuck with Dusty Rhodes.
What's his name's dad? Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, because Dusty Rhodes was like booking in charge of the NWA pretty much. So it was to fuck with him because he acted like everyone's. Oh, he acts like a black guy, and he's like, that was like.
Wait, NWA was around before that, or was that?
Oh yeah, NWA was around before WWF back in the day. So NWA. National became WCW.
I'm thinking of NWO.
Yeah.
My bad.
No.
I'm sorry.
So they would always put jabs at each other and name people things for a reason. So Virgil was named Virgil to fuck with Dusty because Dusty's real name is Virgil Runnels. That's his real name. That's Dusty Rhodes' real name.
And Virgil was a black dude wrestler with Ted DiBiase,
who was rich,
man,
and he was his butler.
His butler, his slave.
So then there was a thing where. I mean, at the end, I think he tried to like sell Virgil or something to like Bobby the Brain Heenan. But what's real funny is that then, if you remember, when Virgil went to WCW to join the NWO, well, the WWF owned that name. They own that name.
They own
Virgil, so they called him Vincent after Vince McMahon. So it was like a fun like. Fuck you. So this dude just collected money just as an inside joke on people.
What's Dusty Rhodes' son's name before Goldust?
Cody.
He's got
Dustin Rhodes became Goldust. Mm-hmm. Then he also has another son.
I'm thinking
Cody
of Randy.
Rhodes.
Randy Rhodes. Who's the dad? And who's Goldust? Now I'm mixing.
Dusty Rhodes is Goldust's dad.
Yeah, Dusty. And the Goldust is Dustin Rhodes, right? Yeah. Do you remember
the Natural?
Who's the guy? And I know his name. He wasn't ECW, but he was Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck was going on in Japan? People were going. They had barbed wire matches.
So that hardcore style came from Japan. I mean, they did a lot of it in Memphis and stuff. And then there was a Japanese wrestler who went over to Memphis and was
bloodlust.
And he was like, oh. And then they went over to Japan and they did it wilder. And then some American dudes like Sabu, and a couple other guys were like, oh, I'm gonna do stuff that they do over here. And then a lot of Japanese guys were like. I'm the dude. I do this, and they're like, "Oh, please come here. It'd be so cool for you to come over here." That still happens. Guys from Japan come over, and they get treated like royalty in American wrestling. It's really cool.
Do you remember that video game? It's the first one that had the real wrestling engine before the WC
Fire Pro.
I think so, but it had the actual because the first video games were like
NBA
Jam.
There was,
and then that one wrestling game had the real true wrestling engine.
Yeah,
the WWE took it.
Yeah, there was like it was those. We had it because you had to buy a special thing for your Super Nintendo or your Nintendo 64. You had to have a special thing for it.
I had a Sega Genesis. My parents didn't love me.
Yeah, we had that one, and we had to buy all this special stuff for it, and then we could play this game, and it was all the Japanese guys, and it was awesome.
Mexican wrestling. Oh, okay. If you could bring back any wrestler and kill another wrestler, trade bodies like a bone.
Sure.
Who of our fallen wrestling soldiers.
See, I would go.
There's one guy I miss a lot.
Who?
Eddie Guerrero.
I was honestly thinking about bringing him back because he still had some years.
Yeah.
But there were some young dudes. Okay, there was a guy. I would do this because I wanted to see how it played out. There was this wrestler. He didn't die, but he got in a super bad car accident. His name was Magnum TA, and he had a Porsche. All these dudes got Porsches. He looked like Magnum PI, so they're like, call you Magnum TA. Fucking stud. All the chicks dug him. He was so popular. He was going to be the guy to beat Ric Flair, and then he wrapped his Porsche around like a telephone pole, and he was all fucked up from that. But death, I think Eddie Guerrero would be.
Who had the best death?
Eddie or
Owen? Of all the
Owen?
wrestlers.
I mean, best in which?
I know who I'm thinking of.
Who? Do you think
What's
Owen
your
Hart?
name?
Or you
No,
say Owen
better.
Hart? Better?
Yeah, way better. Classic.
Wrestler death? I mean, yeah, you're gonna talk about Chris Benoit. That's boring. Like in my circle, it's just we're so bored with it now.
It's cliche now.
So cliche. I like, there's a couple like there's a wrestling.
He killed his family and himself. This
is where if you had James, he'd start giggling on the show or whatever. You should have just a button of him laughing. Like I always loved on Howard Stern, they used to have a Jackie laughing, Jackie the Joke Man laughing.
After they fired him?
And then, no, this is when he was on the air. And then Robin would be like, these people died, and he'd be like, yeah. But yeah, we could bring back like Eddie or
Owen. Yeah, Owen was the sad one.
Or there's been a lot.
I would have loved to be at the live show when Owen, because they didn't know what was going on, right?
There, yeah. People.
Oh, you really? Well, people don't know Owen had a suspender thing, and then he fell to his death, and nobody knew it was
these real shitty equipment, and paid a bunch of money and stuff, and fucking they cheaped out.
Did Owen's family get any money? Yeah. A decent amount of money? Okay.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but that was a bummer. That was a sad one.
Favorite? I don't know. There's a lot of wrestling movies. I mean, I know my favorite, I think, but you would probably have seen. Is there only one wrestling movie that I can think of?
Oh no. What are you talking about? The Wrestler.
The Wrestler.
There's another one called The Wrestler that was with Vern Gagne from the.
Who did?
From like Ed Asner was in it. It was like in the 70s.
Oh.
There's a really funny one called Body Slam with one of the dudes from the A-Team, and it's so 80s. It's so fucking
like
80s.
Tango Cash type of 80s movies.
Yeah, it's
Cobra.
really great. It's really great. Yeah.
What was that one? Body Slam?
Body Slam.
Is that?
Yeah.
What's the comic movie? I'm trying to think. I never saw it, but it has...
the comic movie?
It has the autistic dude. He's not autistic. He played a woman. Fuck. He was in the movie with viruses. He looks... I think he's probably Jewish. Fuck.
What are you talking about? You said 5 different things that I'm like, what? Is it a movie?
Okay, this guy...
I will help you.
Let's go to the actor. He's in Outbreak, right?
Who the fuck was in
Dustin
Outbreak?
Hoffman.
Okay.
But isn't he in a movie where like he becomes a stand-up and then...
He played Lenny Bruce.
Okay.
So
but that's a good movie, though, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not it.
Yeah.
Then it must be the one with who's the mom in Mrs. Doubtfire?
Robin Williams.
The other mom.
The
other mom.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the one.
You like me. You really like me. That's what she said when she went.
Wasn't she in a movie where Sally Field? But isn't she in a movie where like Punchline? Have you seen this Punchline? Is this a bad movie? I've never seen it.
It's hilarious in the sense of you're a comedian, so you can watch it and go, "Oh, we don't have locker rooms and stuff like that."
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's like one of those where that's why I always think like when the news would do a wrestling story, like when Chris Benoit killed his family, or whatever,
and himself at the end.
And himself.
YOLO.
And it's like the news would get everything wrong. And I remember like watching, and they kept still calling it like the World Wrestling Federation. It's like that hasn't been their name for like 3 years.
Yeah, Pandas took it away.
Yeah. And then they would just mess up, like all this stuff they would get wrong, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's just because it's wrestling and they don't give a shit. And then like years later, I'm like, you just don't give a shit about anything. Like
they get everything.
Like how about like whenever we always laugh how there's like whenever there's a comedy story in the newspaper, they'll have like no laughing matter or who's laughing now or and you're just like you don't use your brains.
No, but I've listened to enough podcasts and I listen to celebrities talk about interviews or like I remember Dr. Drew. I was a big Loveline guy, so I would listen to Drew and they would do interviews or they have stuff on Wikipedia, stuff about them, and it's like this is all wrong. Like, did they do any research?
I know.
But this is how I thought about it. Right? Think about. C average. I don't know if you got good grades in school or not. Okay,
average.
C average.
Yeah.
You got to do your paper. Mm-hmm. Okay, you kind of go half-ass it. A lot of people at a job, whatever they half, and it's like it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're out in the workforce. Unfortunately, some of them are doctors, but some of them are nurses on TikTok, and it fucking happens. People like.
Are you big on nurse TikTok?
No, I don't have a TikTok. I have a TikTok.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean,
I download my TikTok. I upload a clip from the podcast and I delete it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I hate TikTok.
Yeah.
But I don't. If you like it, I don't like it. But I can't. I hear in the background, like my stepson will be on it.
Yeah.
But that noise when it changes every few seconds, it really bothers me. It's like I don't have seizures, but it's like I'm close to it. It's like boom, boom.
But that's how like we used to flip channels.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I love flipping.
like everyone's like, oh, these kids. Like all I
I did the same thing.
All I used to do is go
turning into that old man.
Yeah, you're just turning into an old man.
But I would stop it, sort of, or what I mean, or
it's
radio.
Funny, like
I do a radio. I used to do a radio.
By not doing comedy as much, when I do it now, I love watching, and I just see other people watch what they do and stuff.
Comedy or just people in general?
Comedy.
Okay.
I watch people perform, and I've noticed that there's a lot of very young people who talk about getting older. And it's like, I want to just say, like, hey, like, this might work at this bar because everybody's 20-something.
Yeah.
But, like, if you do this at a comedy club, most of those people are going to be older than you. And they're going to be like, you don't know what you're talking about.
No.
You know? But it's interesting because there are times where I'm like, oh, this is why when comics hit, you know, their 40s, they start doing jokes about, I want to be home all the time, or I don't want to go, you know. And it's very interesting to see, like, to get. That was another thing too, which when as we mentioned, I used to be a sport fucker.
Yeah.
But just even getting older now, like even if I was single, I just wouldn't be like, all right, here we go, baby. Because you just kind of like, I mean, you just get older and you're just like, that's not the most important thing in the world.
No. You know what I like about that? I'm older now. I'm honest with myself.
Yeah.
And I think if I were single, I'd be pretty honest with women because I wasn't. Because it's like, I wanted anybody I could. I was like, I want to get laid.
Sure.
Versus now, it's like, you know, I'm just going to be honest. And if you don't like it, then it's fine. It's actually better because there's less drama versus me bullshitting.
I found the more honest I am in relationships, not only is the relationship better,
it's so less stressful.
But it's less stressful. And a lot of times you never know what fun stuff might come out of that. You know what I mean? Of like just being honest with your partner, and who knows? You know what I mean?
What are your kinks?
Oh shit! Where do we start? No.
Have you gotten your ass eaten out?
Of course.
Yeah. Right.
What am I, a child?
Well, there's a lot of people you've eaten.
Pre. This is the other thing too, and this is when you start to, as you get older, and you feel like a real like. Oh, I was doing
you were a
back in the day.
Yeah. It was like, I feel like it became a thing a few years ago. It was like all of a sudden it was ass eating. There were songs about it with groceries. Like
I used to watch or listen to Opie and Anthony.
Oh,
and I remember like
rest in peace.
Jim Norton would always
fuck trans chicks and talk about it.
And just a lot of the stuff he would talk about, I was just like, oh, that's on the menu. I didn't know that was on the menu. You know what I mean? And then, that was, I'll tell you what, some of those moves that now are all the rage.
Yeah.
You threw one of those moves in 2006. You were like, whoa, what did this guy just do to me?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I was fucking in 2006.
Yeah.
I know. I was still a virgin.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting.
Do you remember your first time? Was it fun or mine was not that good? It shouldn't be good.
No, I definitely remember being like, man, this is awesome. Like once it all got going, I remember just being like, oh, this is why they make all the movies and all this. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I enjoyed it a lot.
I must have been wearing a condom then because I did not enjoy it.
Yeah. No,
it was like, and then the time before that, she yelled at me because we're in a car and I was like, I wasn't getting my penis wasn't going up, but she didn't help me, insist me or touch it, and I was like, it's more like, come on, and I was like, it's not, I don't know, maybe I didn't say it, but I was like, maybe help or touch it, like this isn't turning me on.
How do you feel when other comics are very like graphic about their sex lives on stage?
You know what, it depends on the audience. If I'm with an audience and I feel the audience is feeling it, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
And it's like you're there's older people, they're not into it. Why are you doing the ass eating bit? Like it's like
I feel like if they're
make it that funny,
good enough, or just like you make it with the older people, you just include everybody and stuff like that. But I do sometimes I'll just hear something where it's just like, ooh, that's a little too much information for the crowd, I think.
Yeah, especially like this crowd. I'm looking and it's like they're not.
Yeah.
Read the crowd.
But also, I've been in crowds where someone says something or whatever, and I felt like the whole crowd was like, "Oh shit, I'm fucking in. I'm into this. This is fun."
Because I've been in those shows with it's the rowdy. Like I've been in the town. I love like doing the towns. Except for, have you had good shows in Indiana? I never. I think there's comedy now, but I did. Okay.
I just did a show there a little while ago. A couple weeks ago, I did a show in Indiana, and it was good.
Yeah, because my first few ones, it was like the places I went to.
Yeah,
everybody was sad, and
so I will say this: I have noticed that when I leave the city, sometimes people do seem like a little more. I don't know. Like I don't think they've picked up like living on full speed yet. I think they're still kind of like floating a little bit and like, oh yeah, like I don't know. It just seems a little weird. I just like I don't know. I just have always liked cities better, but I think just sometimes you go to some of these smaller towns and everyone's just kind of like real laid back, like too laid back.
Wisconsin, Wisconsin. Everybody's like happy to have comedy or something going on.
I think so.
Nice and they're ready to go.
I think, and I'm from Indiana. I think Wisconsin is more friendly than Indiana.
A lot of thick white women in Kenosha.
Yeah. Kenosha, sure.
Kenosha. I live in Kenosha now, so I'm watching it.
I used to do shows when I first started in Kenosha all the time. There was a guy who ran a real cool show, and it would be like,
do you remember
these crowds? No, not off the top of my head. But he was a really nice guy, and I'm so sorry if I can't remember his name right now. But I remember they had these crowds. Like that's the other thing about comedy, which is like I know I've been a little cranky about like I don't like doing this, not like that. But there were a lot of times where I would go to shows thinking like, and then you're like, oh fuck, there's a lot of cars here, and then you're like, why are all these people so excited? And it's like someone has been like cultivating a good little comedy scene, and it's like there's people that are fun and ready for comedy.
What's your worst show? Do you remember?
My worst show? Oh, dude, I did a show in Minnesota. I was really embarrassed because a dude who listened to my podcast came to the show and he was like, so excited. No, this was with me and Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. Okay. And I was like, oh, cool, he's coming to the show. And then I showed up there and I'm like, oh, this place is not that cool. And then it was like, just, you're like, well, who's in charge of what the fuck's going on? And there was just a dude in the front row who was just like actively just like on his phone. And I was like, hey, man, can you put that phone away? And he just wouldn't put that phone away. And I was just like, angry. Come on, man, you got to fucking put that phone away or something. And then someone said something where like, he served in the military. And I'm like, cool, put your fucking phone away. You know what I mean? And I was just
Who said that?
His friends. And they all sucked. So I had them all through. And it was one of those where I was like, can we just get them out of here so I can do the show? And nobody would do anything because there wasn't a bouncer or anything. And then finally I'm just like, I'm not going to perform until this guy's out of here. Like, this is fucked up. Like, I feel like this guy wants to fight me. I can't do a show and, like, be doing act outs and stuff waiting for this dude.
I'm glad your girlfriend cheated on you when you were in Iraq, you piece of shit.
Because I've had a lot. I love the clips that everybody has now. Like, oh, this, like the guy threw a beer bottle. And I'm just like, man, I should have recorded so many of my shows. I remember in Milwaukee, I was like, I had a joke where there was like a Jeffrey Dahmer.
The venue?
Yeah. It was the Comedy Cafe when it was still on Brady Street.
Yeah, on Brady.
I remember I had just gotten a tattoo and it was like bleeding a little bit. And I remember I went on stage and someone goes, "You're bleeding," and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I had like a bar napkin on my arm and I was like doing the show and there was a line, I don't know what I said, something about like maybe Jeffrey Dahmer, like talking about like when you're bad at sex, you're just like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to murder this person now so they don't tell the world that I was bad at sex at this situation. And I was like, maybe that was just Dahmer's fault, and someone goes, don't do it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it, don't worry, it'll be funny. And I just said like, maybe they were just like, that's it, Jeffrey, and he was like, oh fuck, and just like hammer to the head. And then he's like, well, I'm not gonna not eat him, you know what I mean? And then someone threw their beer at me. But like, just I love all those. I love fun experiences like that. I love
chaos. All right, we're running out of time.
Cool.
Do you have any last words or plugs? You could do last words and then plugs.
What do you mean last words? Like these would be the last words I would say.
Anything you wanted to say.
I gave myself up for Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, yeah.
We're passing each other.
No, my one friend, I wish this other guy would die. And one of our group of friends, because he was, I think he's a sociopath, but he was like this guy for Eddie Guerrero. And I was like, ew.
I was just watching some Eddie Guerrero where he was still in WCW, and this is when he got like insanely ripped, and he had that super mullet, and he was like real mean. And I was like, oh, this is the best. I love this so much. My last words would be just for everybody to just get a nice little buzz and just enjoy themselves. That's all.
Yeah. Watch out for fentanyl. It's out there.
Yeah, watch out for fentanyl.
It's annoying.
That's another thing too, where I'm
Can't
just
even
like,
do coke. Fuck you. Fentanyl.
What a bummer.
Fucking Chinese,
I don't understand. Maybe you can help me. Why do they put the fentanyl in? Like, why would they want to kill potential customers? Are they doing that good where it doesn't matter?
That's what I've been trying to figure out.
Just to scare America?
it's cheaper to cut it because it's cheaper. There's other shit you can cut it with. I don't get it. I'm trying to figure. Oh, you know what? No, conspiracy went in.
What?
TikTok and the Chinese, they're combining fentanyl and TikTok to kill us. All right.
Oh, that's what Alex Jones, because Alex Jones has this awful character he does called like Fentanyl the Dragon, and he does like he does a racist Asian accent.
Really?
Yeah,
all right, I'm watching this tonight.
Yeah.
Plugs? Any plugs?
Knowledge Fight. It's the #1 anti-Alex Jones podcast on the internet. It's my buds, and they're awesome, and they make...
Dave Rader, isn't it?
What?
David Rader in them?
No. Knowledge Fight. It's Dan Friesen and Jordan Holmes.
Jordan Holmes. I always mix up Jordan with fucking Rader.
It's great. It's fantastic, and they helped a lot with Alex Jones losing everything, so it's very fun to... I'm very proud of my friends.
And then Lobo That Podcast on Instagram. Sometimes it's always on TikTok, but I'm not on it too much.
I love how you keep having to say sorry about being on TikTok.
I just hate TikTok. But
where do you see yourself in comedy in 5 years?
In comedy in 5 years?
Yeah. What's your goal? Do you have goals?
No.
No goals at all?
I'm not a goal person. I just kind of do.
Well, you do this.
Yeah, I do this.
Is
and
good.
then go. I'm going to start a golf podcast soon.
Nice.
I've gotten back.
You got a name?
Golf hard.
You got a name?
The Golf Den. Lobo Den, Golf Den, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going, like,
Is there like a bad boy golf podcast?
Dude, there's a bunch of golf podcasts I'm watching. Even the guys are okay, but
Yeah.
it's like there's no bad boy one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, you were the bad boy comedy.
Yeah.
I forgot. That's what Paul says about you. But, cunt.
I should let you wrap up. But yeah.
But yeah, the Golf Den's coming soon. I'm back into golf, and then fucking plugs. Patreon, $3 a month, blah blah blah. There's one episode that got taken off of there because he won't let me do it. It's actually.
I tell you what, man. I used to do Wrestling with Depression back in the day, and one of the reasons why the archive isn't up anymore is because I would get emails from people late at night, and they would go, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. Can you take that off? I said someone's name or something I did or whatever," and I just went, "Fuck it. I'm just gonna take it down."
Yeah, Luca Farah. He's like, he just took a picture with a bunch of strippers, and he's like, or porn stars. What's the big deal? Lincoln Lodge, Chris. Do I usually say anything besides I just plug stuff? Right? I don't remember.
Do you have like a sign off? Do you have a good sign off?
Oh yeah, I just say Lobo Den. All right, Lobo Den.
Lobo Den, 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 Lobo Den. It's the Lobo Den. Lobo Den. Lobo Den. Lobo Den. It's the Lobo Den. Lobo Den. Lobo Den. It's the Lobo Den.